There is almost a never-ending supply of mistakes that investors can make when buying an investment property in Somerville and Cambridge. And in today's video, I'm going to share most common investor mistakes when buying and owning in Cambridge and Somerville, Massachusetts. And at the very end of this video, I'm going to share one giant mistake that I consistently see clients make that costs them tens of thousands of dollars on an annual basis. So stick around till the end of the video for that last one. My name is Jankowitz. I am a real estate agent based in Cambridge and Somerville, Massachusetts. I've closed over 300 deals in the last 3 years. Before I get into the video, please take a second to hit that subscribe button. If you have any questions as you're watching, you know there's a Calendly link in the description below. Free 15-minute conversation with me anytime. Just click the link. Happy to set up a call. Now let's get into it. First common mistake that I see investors make. I see investors buy properties with extremely slanty ceilings. So typically, most common housing inventory that I'll see for an investor, it's a multifamily, most commonly a two-family. And on the third floors, a lot of times these ceilings are really slanting down. Why is this such a big issue? Well, the first thing is the square footage is massively cut down. So even though a bedroom technically might be 10 by 10, a normal sized bedroom, the actual livable space with normal ceiling height might be 7 by 8. And now all of a sudden you don't have a bedroom. Back of the envelope math for a bedroom by room in Somerville might be about $1,200 a month. I mean, it's going to vary, but for this sake of example, call it $1,200 a month. If you can't rent it as a bedroom, you just lost $1,200 a month every single month. Now, over the course of the year, that's almost 15 grand. Now, what if you have a 4-bed, 2-bath where you have 2 rooms like this? You have just cost yourself almost $30,000 a year. My guess is your calculations are going to change a little bit because of this. But I see a lot of investors buy and assume that this really bizarre, super slanty bedroom is not going to be an issue, that they're just going to be able to rent it out like a normal bedroom. So you really got to be careful when buying, especially look on those third floor, look for those slanty ceilings that are really going to affect actual livable square footage. And remember, you're paying for that square footage. They're pricing at the sellers most of the time based on the total square footage, but a lot of that square footage isn't usable. That's a problem. Number 2, and this kind of ties into what we're just talking about with slanty ceilings, bedroom size and shape. This is a really, really big one, guys. I can't tell you how many times I see this when going through investment properties with clients. So many times we look on the MLS sheet, it says it's 2 3-bed, 1-bath units. I get there is 1 bedroom that can fit a queen bed plus a dresser. It's a normal sized bedroom. And then you have 2 offices that are being marketed as bedrooms. But then the mistake I see investors make is they just take the seller's agent word, these are 3 bedrooms. Then what do? They start doing research based on a 3-bedroom, 1-bath apartment. They come up with a rental number based on the 3-bed, 1-bath unit. When in reality, you have a 1-bed, 1-bath with 2 offices. Wildly different price point. So when you're going through a property, you want to really make sure that the bedroom is actually an adequate size. My general rule of thumb is I want to see a bedroom that can comfortably fit a queen with at least 1 end table, ideally 2, a small desk, and a dresser, plus a closet. If it can't do all those things, there's something at least a little bit wrong with it. Ideal world, every bedroom would have all these things. And then as we talked about for point 1, none of the weird slanty ceilings eating into that space. Before we get into the rest of the video, please take a second to subscribe. If you like what you guys are seeing, again, as I'm going through, you guys have any questions whatsoever, hit that Calendly link. Happy to set up a free 15-minute appointment. I love looking at properties, going over them together. Whether you're an investor or a primary residence buyer, I always take an investment slant. I really, really have fun going through these properties. So please reach out. The next one, I call this one box checks. You probably haven't heard this term before because I made it up. But what is a box check? Well, if you're buying an investment property, what you really want to do is get inside the mind of your customer, which in this case is going to be a tenant. And you need to ask yourself, what do tenants look at as box checks? And there's sort of 2 types of box checks. So the first are sort of must-have expectation box checks. An example of this is most people in Somerville expect there to be some kind of laundry, whether it's in the unit, in the basement, coin op or not. Most people expect to have that. If you don't have a washer dryer, you're going to have a lot of trouble renting the property. Another example would be a fridge. If you don't have a fridge, well, you actually have to legally supply a fridge. But I have occasionally seen owners try and rent a place without a fridge. Not only is it illegal, but there's just a built-in expectation that's going to be there. So you need to make sure that you hit those baseline things. So that's your first set of box checks. But for this particular example, I want to focus on the second set. And these are box checks that a lot of tenants like to see. As you add more of these, you're increasing the tenant pool that's going to be interested in your property. And if you increase the tenant pool, you're going to A, increase the price, B, increase the chances that it gets rented faster, and C, reduce the chance that the property turns over every year. When you have a lot of box checks, people want to live in your property. property, they're willing to pay a premium, they'll rent faster, and they'll stay longer. These are all positives that equal not just more money from an investing perspective, but much less stress and time. And I find with a lot of investor clients, especially newer investor clients, they focus on the money, but they forget a lot about the stress and the time. And I have found over the years that when tenants are happy, owners tend to be happy. So some common examples of these box checks would be things like a dishwasher in the unit. People love a dishwasher. Another one would be a washer dryer in the unit. That's a huge one. Another one, a lot of people in Somerville are foodies. They like to cook themselves as well, and they want to have a true vent hood. They don't want to have to worry when they're frying up their steak in a cast iron pan that smoke's going to get all over the apartment. A lot of units don't have this. That's a really nice bonus. Another one would be parking. I could spend 30 minutes going over box checks. I won't for this video, but know that there's a lot of them. So working with someone like me who really deeply understands what renters care about will help ensure that you're getting a property that's going to attract the most amount of tenants and in turn make you the most amount of money with as less stress as possible. So that's a big one that I see a lot of people miss. So do not disregard the box checks. You probably don't know what they all are. Work with a realtor who really knows them, and not many do, to tell you the truth, because most don't focus on investments and rentals as well like I do, but really make sure you find someone who understands those. Next one, this is another big one, and this is the layout. And so the layout can come in a lot of different forms. One part of the layout is what's sort of the bathroom to bedroom ratio. That's a part of the layout, right? Like ideally, you want to have one bathroom for every 2 bedrooms. If you have a 4 or 5 bedroom apartment, but it only has 1 bathroom, that's less than ideal. And therefore you are likely to attract a lower quality tenant who's willing to pay much less in order to get a more inconvenient unit. So, if you're looking at a 4-bed, my general rule of thumb is you want to have at least 2 bathrooms. But related to that, you want to ensure that both of those bathrooms are common. I have seen people where they say, hey Sage, help me rent my apartment. I do have the 4-bed, 2-bath, but it turns out one of those bathrooms are en suite. And in Somerville, a huge percentage of renters are actually roommates. Depends on the area, but for a lot of parts of Somerville, it's going to be 4 young professional roommates or students at Harvard or MIT. And if that's the case, well, if one of them's en suite, you basically have 1 bath for 3 tenants. Again, less than ideal. Is that a deal breaker? Not necessarily, but it's something to consider when making a decision. Another example of a layout, a bedroom where you can't get to the next bedroom without going through another bedroom. Well, now you actually don't have 2 bedrooms. You have 1 bedroom with either an office or a closet space. So make sure when you're running your calculations, you don't include both rooms as bedrooms, because if the only way to get to 1 bedroom is to go through another bedroom, you actually have 1 less bedroom. You actually are making much less money on that rental. Another thing that I see a lot is I see these houses that were originally a single family house and now they're broken up into multiple units. Maybe it happened in the 50s or the 80s, whatever. But now you have these janky layouts with weird rooms and weird shapes and nothing really fits. And owners oftentimes will say, well, what's the big deal? It's a great location. I see the rents here. Renters pay attention to these things. They're seeing what you're seeing. If you think it's weird and it looks weird, it probably is going to be weird to a renter. And the result is that means it's going to probably sit longer. You're going to get much less rent for it, and there's going to be more turnover. So you really got to understand what a good layout looks like before you pull the trigger. I see so many people who they say, well, this property's been sitting 100 days. It's a great location. Screw it. I'm getting a good price for this area. I'm going to buy it. But then they find out they can't rent it at all. They're going to have to take such a huge hit on the property. It just doesn't make sense. Or they have to rework things at such a high cost that it just stops making sense. So you really need to understand your layouts. I cannot stress this enough. I've seen so many people make this mistake. Please do not make this mistake. Next one, significant sagging floors. Now, Somerville is an area with a lot of old housing stock. So you are going to, on the regs, see sagging floors. Not a big concern, honestly, at all, except when they are dramatic. When we see things like this, where it's just super slopey or bends in or bends out like this, that's a sign that there could be some issues in the foundation that are a little more dramatic. And even if the foundation is fine, it's likely going to affect the rentability and the quality of tenants and how much you can get for rent, which means you're probably going to have to fix it. It's not super inexpensive to fix because you're going to need to get a structural engineer out there at the foundation and the basement, and they're going to have to make some changes to the flooring. So it can get expensive. I really recommend if you see some serious sloping like this or some of this kind of thing or this kind of thing, just skip it, move on to the next one. It's not really worth your time. And now the bonus one, and this is probably the biggest mistake I see a lot of investors make, and sadly I see it happen a lot. But if you're looking to buy an investment specifically to then rent out the property, it's really critical that you work with a realtor who also does rentals and does a decent volume of them and really understands how rentals work. I see a lot of investors that will work with a pure residential realtor who has no experience renting up properties or acquiring multifamilies. And what is the most common thing that happens is the realtor will make promises about rent based on their research research, working in good faith for sure, but it turns out that their rental numbers are wrong. I actually just was speaking to a realtor the other day who was talking to another realtor friend who thought that they could rent a property for around $7,200 a month. I looked at the property and it was worth more like $5,000 a month or maybe $5,500. So even if it being aggressive, you could get $5,500, that's a $1,700 a month differential. And this was for, I believe, 3 units. So 3 times 17 is $5,100 a month that they were off by. Over the course of a year, that is over $60,000. That's not a small mistake. So please, if you're thinking of buying an investment property, I'd love to work with you, but if you don't work with me, work with someone who actually does a large volume of rentals. Not only will they save you a ton of time and money by ensuring that you get the right property at the right price and can give you conservative, accurate rental numbers, but after the buy-sell transaction closes, they will help you figure out what needs to be fixed, how to position the property to rent it for top dollar. They'll help you with the lease process. They'll help you with investor-related vendors like handyman, snow removal, landscaping, those kind of things. And they will help you with ongoing issues that do occasionally come up. So I'm not trying to toot my own horn or sell myself. I just see this happen a lot. And I can't tell you how many times I've met clients after they buy and they come to me and they say, we're renting it for $4,000. And I look at it and I'm 100% certain it's never going to happen. And I just don't want to see that happen to you guys. Anyways, I hope you guys like this video. I hope that you will avoid a few bombs by watching this video. If you guys have questions, hit me up on my Calendly link below. Make sure you like, make sure you subscribe, and peace out until next time.